Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Tuesday at 9.
You got him for 48 hours.
Being a team wasn't their first choice.
We ain't partners, we ain't brothers, and we ain't friends.
But now they've got 2 days to track down a killer. Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy.
There's a new sheriff in town.
48 hours. 9 o'clock on Cinema 19 Tuesday night. Qualify to win 2 round-trip airline tickets, courtesy US Air and Fox 19. Watch 48 hours for the call to win announcement.
So, Steve, I did get to do something 90s yesterday night after going to the nation's capital to get some medical marijuana, loaded up for the year, for the end of the year. And I watched a movie, dude, I haven't seen this in so long, Liar Liar, the Jim Carrey joint.
Bow.
The pen is blue. Dude, it holds up, as most Jim Carrey movies do, but I was pleasantly surprised, you know?
Mr. Bracken from Herman's Head, he plays the judge.
Young man, having my judgment mocked in my own court is not something I'm prepared to tolerate.
You know what? He does, dude. We have a couple of really very specific cameos that we can reference, and that's just yet another one. But yeah, he does play that. And that movie, it's such a simple, it's almost a heartbreaking movie when you think of the plot, because it's just a guy who's a scumbag, who's not there for his kid. His kid gets fed up with it and wishes on his birthday that his dad can't tell a lie. And somehow the gods just make it happen. And Jim Carrey just fucking acts his way out of that shitty ass plot and makes fucking an actual good movie, dude. It's fucking hilarious.
I have no further witnesses, Your Honor.
Like, I'm a fucking lawyer, kid. Like, you like them toys for Christmas? Yeah. I have to lie a lot.
The beginning of it's perfect because they have this cute little kid, right? That's his son. And the first shot in the movie is his kid at kindergarten or whatever grade he's in, and his teacher's going around the class asking each student, like, what does your dad do for, what do your parents do for jobs? And he says, like, oh, my mom does this and my dad's a liar. And his teacher's like, you don't mean liar, do you? And he's like, well, he goes to court and talks to judges and stuff. She's like, oh, a lawyer. And he goes, that's the beginning of the movie. Fucking great, dude.
Jennifer Tilly's in the movie, and I always thought for some reason she was related to Joy Lauren Adams from Chasing Amy and Mallrats. And I don't know, they have that sultry, raspy kind of voice. And I could see her being her Joy Lauren Adams' older sister, but they have no relation whatsoever.
No, no, but they're both very hot. And Jennifer Tilly in Liar Liar, I mean, this is her just peak Jennifer Tilly. She was killing it for a long time.
Jennifer Titty.
Still to this day, I mean, and she's killing it on the poker table too, Steve.
I was about to say, she's killing those poker tables.
I always found that wild. I remember because there was that weird period in like the 2000s where Texas Hold'em became like a huge thing, and you know, people, it was all over the place. I mean, I loved it too.
I never understood.
You didn't? Well, I played it with, you know, we had a group of guys that played it and shit. It was pretty fun, but I always was like, this is fucking crazy. Jennifer, the weird mom from that movie where they take their parents hostage in the basement, whatever that's called. I forget what it's called now. Fuck.
The Bride of Chucky. Shit.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. But yeah, dude, Liar Liar. Go check it out.
Like, do you get tips? Do you pick up tricks from watching that shit on TV? Because like that shit is running rampant. Or at least in the 2000s it was. They would have those WPT World Poker Tours. They would have marathons, even on like, especially the holidays.
Oh yeah, well, they would just play. It was like the late night thing, you know. They would have that shit would come on like late at night. But dude, I don't know, man. I was fucking stupid. I would watch it, and I guess I learned a little bit, but that shit's all like mathematics. If somebody's actually good at it, they're using like percentages and shit. And Steve, Matt's not capable of that. So, you know, when it gets to that level, no. When it was me, Alex, Jordan, Leonard, and a couple other guys for like playing for $20, you know, every once in a while I'd win, but usually I was like Michael Scotting it and just being like all in on the first hand, and then it's like, well, your night's over. Fuck.
I fold.
Yeah, right. But yeah, check out Jim Carrey and Liar Liar, Steve. If you haven't,
I already seen it. I seen it actually. I saw it twice in the theater.
I mean, I had the VHS I probably have it back here someplace, but yeah, it's just one of those like simple. I think we all say this, and maybe I'm not paying attention, but it just seems like a weird type of movie. Like it's kind of adult, it's kind of kids, but it's like a slapstick comedy, and I don't see this kind of shit really. Ouch.
And Anne Haney, she was the older lady. She was in Mrs. Doubtfire and a lot of other stuff.
Oh yeah, she kills it. And also, the lady that his wife is really
Susie Kurtz.
She's cute, and fucking the Princess Bride dude's in it too.
Or Maura Tierney. Maura Tierney, that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, News Radio, I believe.
Yeah, and she was in Insomnia, Primary Colors, Primal Fear, Baby Mama. And then Susie Kurtz, she was the lady. I think Susie Kurtz was like a child actress. She was in shit back in like the 80s and the 70s, man.
Yeah, I think she's like his like arch nemesis lawyer adversary or one. There's somebody, you know, but full of fucking hilarious shit. And they have like a bloopers reel at the end. A lot of shit I forgot. Just nice to go back again. I've said this a bunch of times, but like you watch a movie like Twister and you go back and it's a hunk of shit. It's nice to go back and be like, okay, I didn't have that trash a taste.
Twister is always your go-to. It was that shitty.
It's bad,
That's like,
Steve. It is. I mean, and I don't even want to fucking really shit on it too much because it's got Billy Paxton's in it. And I love me some Bill Paxton, but it is just like the plot is just
bottom of the food chain.
Stupid as fuck, Steve. Stupid. And they're doing another one right now. They're redoing it or making it a sequel. I don't know.
Tornadoes be twisting, Matt. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, but do they hunt humans down? Like they were going after Helen Hunt and her gang. They were, you know, it just seemed weird. And also, rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman. He was amazing in the movie. But yeah, I don't know. It's my go-to. I could think of a lot of movies that suck dick from the 90s, but that's one where I was just like way off. Because to be honest, there was a summer when it came out on VHS where I bought it, and I think I watched it every day for like a month. It was one of those, you know.
Maybe you were coming after Helen Hunt.
I definitely, you know, I used to think she was so hot. She had a scene in, this is so perverted, but Castaway, at the end, she like starts making out with Tom Hanks in the rain after he comes back from the island, and it's like a wet t-shirt contest. And I just remember, oh my. Castaway. Oh my. Castaway. Man.
Yeah, that movie that didn't come out in the 90s.
It didn't come out in the 90s? Castaway?
Castaway totally didn't come out in the 90s.
Oh, wow. Man. Well, Tom Hanks came out in the 90s.
Castaway was a film that I can't get to quick enough on Wikipedia. It was a... They're giving me every kind of fucking Castaway, but that Castaway.
I don't know, Steve. I'm feeling like I might be right because I feel like it did come out in the 90s.
It came out December 22nd, 2000.
Okay. Well, I was right there. It was off a little bit.
We
were still in high school. Well, shit. Fuck me then, Steve. I'm sorry. Fuck.
Fuck you, fuck me.
The Perry house is always an open house.
They're eating over.
So they always serve the best at dinner time. Like their house dressing, ranch from Kraft.
Thank you.
Sure you invited enough?
Only Kraft Ranch has the cool and creamy taste that's made it the favorite at the Perry house. And probably yours.
Some more, please. Yeah, can you spend the night?
Ranch from Kraft.
I'm glad you don't eat it every day.
America's house dressing. And now look for Kraft's newest house favorite, Peppercorn Ranch.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Set It Off posters and your Vince Carter jerseys, because I believe I could fly. Woo! I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I could soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly.
I can fly.
I believe I can fly. I can fly. I believe I can fly. I can fly. If I just spread my wings.
Are you just trying to get a contract now, Steve?
Hey, man. I was listening to some KLs over the week for research purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that shit, man, that shit was jamming. I ain't even gonna hold you. That shit was jamming.
You can't stop. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna disassociate the music. I don't like the guy. He's an asshole. Fuck him. Fuck him all. Fuck him to death. Yes. You know. But
yeah.
Cool. It's too good.
Too many hits. It's too many fucking.
I mean, there's some shit that's like suspect where I even caught myself. It was like this is more even recent before the allegations, but it's definitely like in the late 2000s. He did like a song with Birdman and fucking even on that, I forget what it was, but I just heard it on Spotify the other day and I was like, I'm not going to turn this. It's fucking too good.
That shit he did with Snoop Dogg. That's that shit. That's dun, 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 dun. That's that shit. But that didn't happen in the 2000s. But man, look, R. Kelly, dude, this is the decade where he put his footprint down, and we're going to be talking a little bit about it. We're going to be talking about a little bit of Jerry again and how I was misinformed. I misspoke. This isn't the episode that I wanted, but this is the Jerry that we're going to get.
I was going to ask you about that. I'm glad you referenced that already, so I won't need to ask that question.
And for the first time, we're going to be talking about Charles Has Charges. Charles has charges all over from his co-stars.
Some wacky shit that happened afterwards, Steve.
Some weird and wild stuff indeed. And this time around, my friend, we're talking about all things November 10th and the 9-9s. Starting off in 1990, Charles in Charge is airing their last episode. Season 5, Episode 26, Charles B. DeMille. Charles faces a tough choice when he must decide whether to help the Powell children by directing their fundraising play or to study for a test that will get him into graduate school in Princeton. Chill out, Scott Baio. Right. But
like right away, Steve, in this episode, how old is Charles supposed to be?
He's supposed to be like 23, 24. Motherfucker, you were Chachi. You were 23, 24 in the 70s. It's 1990 now, Scott Baio. Get 17 kinds of fucks out of here.
Get your open button shirt and Shane out of here. It looks like he's just got fired from his warehouse job, Steve.
With that mullet trying to adjust to the times. Cut it all off, Scott. Cut it all off.
Ooh.
Buddy got the picture.
I mean, I was kind of disappointed that Buddy didn't show up with that like fucking straight white people perm. I missed it.
That was him in all his 80s glory. But around this time, Scott Baio was born September 22nd, 1960. So by now, he's 30 in this episode. He's 30 years old, trying to get into postgraduate school at Princeton. Shut the fuck up, Scott Baio.
He's stressing. He's stressing about it. He wants to know. He's waiting for a letter, which I guess is his acceptance letter or whatnot. He's still mannying for this family, which again, I don't get this. There's girls of age in this house. He's 50 at this point. You know, Buddy Buddy looks like somebody that works at like a Christian camp or something, Steve. He's got a lot of like tucked in shirts. It's a wild look. I don't enjoy.
Well, maybe Willie Ames does that now because he's big on that Christian stuff.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, him and Scott were doing a lot of shenanigans back in the. Maybe that's why he went to God. Maybe that's why he found Christ.
Yeah, you need to repent for all his partying days with Scott Baio.
But so Charles is freaking out, and then Sarah, one of the daughters, comes in. I'm getting her name right. It is Sarah.
It's Sarah.
And this is one thing, Steve. Is she in college or is she in high school?
Everyone's still in high school.
Okay.
And Sarah, she has a school trip to Boston, or so she thought. It was canceled because they didn't have enough funds. It ain't no fun when the homies can't get funds. And so somehow, some way, they have the grand idea to have a variety show. And actually, Scott
how
Baio,
they even came to that. Like, why?
Well, Charles with charges, he actually got a letter, and he was thinking it was from Princeton, but it was an invite to be a guest at some variety show, some local variety show. And from that letter, that's where they get the idea. Oh, well, Lillian, who's Charles' mom, she's like, why don't you have a variety show and raise money, have a fundraiser?
You're like, shit, why don't you mind your business, Mom? Why are you at my job?
Seriously. Well, Lillian, played by Ellen Travolta, John's older sister. Yeah, that's who plays Lillian, Charles' mom. And she's all in the mix because these later seasons, she's replacing the actual mom of the Powell family, played by Kearns. I can't remember it, first name, but last name Kearns. And she would just have a recurring role. The mom would.
So somehow, and then within that, then Charles is like, yeah, well, you could pull a variety show off if you have a good director. And somehow by saying this, he gets volunteered to do this. And they're like, hey, fucking this sounds great. I guess you're going to be the director. And he's like, wait, what? And Buddy's right up behind him saying, well, I'm going to be the talent coordinator. You be the director. I'm going to get these dancing girls, Steve.
Yeah, and Charles is going to be like, dude, you're just going to have whores on stage. And even though that's right up my alley, for the sake of this Charles character, that's a bad thing, buddy. Buddy's like, no, dude, I'm going to have one singer, one acrobat, trained SEAL, and about 300 dancing girls. Like, see, buddy, I know you.
I mean, it's right there. And so then, and again, Charles is still waiting to get this letter. This is something that's looming, but now he's the director. So we go to they somehow just get a venue, Steve. I'm not sure where this is at.
Hey, we got to get this story done in 30 minutes. There's no need for details. So they get a venue. They're doing auditions, and while they're doing that, Lillian, the mom, she brings in Muggsy, which was Charles. That was his childhood ventriloquist dummy, and Muggsy looks ate the fuck up, like she found him in a back alley.
Yeah, somebody did some. Muggsy went across somebody, some other puppeteer or some shit, because he's like melty. They say he's wooden, but the shit looks fucked up, Steve. I don't know what happened.
A fucked up piece of felt, Muggsy is. And Adam, the brother of the Powell family, he offers to do his magic act. And Adam tells Charles that he actually got a call from Princeton. And so Charles makes a mad dash home, and he talks to the professor, one of the professors, and he finds out that he has to stay home for 2 days to study for his test, and that he's going to have to miss out on this show that he supposedly was going to direct. So Buddy volunteers to direct the show, and Buddy ends up having some chicks just walk on stage, only for them to exit the stage.
Eye candy, Steve. TNA. Buddy understands it. Fuck the bullshit. Bring them out, turn around, off the stage. There's no show, Steve. These people are going to get fleeced. They're going to see some high quality TNA, but at the same time, I mean, this is for some high school fundraising. So I don't know if the Hugh Hefner experience that Buddy's trying to envision is really what they're looking for. And there's some concerns there in that crew. But cut to Scott Baio / Charles. He's in his meeting with, I think the guy's name is Professor Haskins. And here's a cameo, Steve. Let me ask you, do you know where Professor Haskins, where you would know him from? And this is 90s.
He didn't ring a bell.
Okay. Well, in Home Alone 2, Kevin McAllister goes to Duncan's toy chest and meets the owner, Mr. Duncan, gives him turtle doves, Steve. And that is turtle doves, my friend. The one and only.
I call him Professor Reagan because he kind of talks like, well, me and Nancy, we thought about it, and you're going to be in Princeton. I can do a way better Reagan. Well,
these students need to have somebody take care of them, fill in be a father figure. He does that. And they show Reagan, like a picture of Reagan. Background. Yeah, so definitely Mr. Duncan was playing Ronald Reagan in this scene. But he basically says to Charles, like, the test doesn't really matter. What we're worried about is somebody that's actually like going to be there for the students, which obviously he's not trying to get a teaching job at BGSU. So he's like, do you think that you can do that? I need to see that you're going to be there for your students. And is this when he's like, I gotta go?
Something clicked in his mind, and it's just like, you know what? I gotta be there for the Powell family. They sheltered me, they've clothed me. I've been with them for the past 5 seasons. So he comes back, and Grandpa, he gets in on some vaudeville action. Adam, he works his magic, and some chick, she does a little dance routine. And so while Charles is there, he's in the mix with this whole variety show. The Professor Reagan, he shows up to the variety show, and he offers Charles a spot at Princeton's post-grad program because he got a call, and Charles thought the call was from Sarah, but the professor got a call from Jamie. And Charles asked Jamie, why did you do that? And Jamie says, well, because you took my virginity off camera. No, Jamie didn't say that. She said, well, the show business. That's, I live for the show business. She said something like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, basically, Charles left his whole thing. He left his future. He said, fuck Princeton, and went to save the day, and does save the day. He even does his ventriloquist act, Steve. If you remember correctly. Yeah. Because he doesn't have Muggsy. Muggsy never got fixed because Buddy's a piece of shit. But then Buddy, he becomes the puppet, Steve. Bayo does what he did to a lot of people and shoves his hand up his ass and makes him talk. So
I totally left that part out. And Willie Ames, he plays the ventriloquist dummy to a T.
He's great. And then, so at the end of this, basically Charles gets everything comes together. His dreams come true. He gets the spot at Princeton. And then we're on stage, and basically now they sort of kind of break the fourth wall, because it's them all saying goodbye to Charles, basically, including Charles himself.
Yeah, and the cast and the crew, they actually all do a joint embrace. They all hug, and I like to watch this show like I like to watch a lot of shows, all my shows, from the perspective of knowing the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. And I'm watching this crew, these cast members, and I'm like, some of you are sick motherfuckers. You let this shit go on. You knew about it. Some of you had to know about it. You producers, you cameramen, you fucking let this motherfucker just diddle, and you're saying he's in charge for 5 fucking seasons, where he should be in fucking prison, having somebody in charge of him and his asshole. But you allowed it, you fucking enablers. You Charles in charge producing enablers. That's what you are. And that was my thought process, watching them have this warm, endearing embrace. You sick individuals, stop touching those kids.
It was weird too, because I know he fucked Nicole Eggert, Jamie, and I don't know the circumstances, like what age and whatnot, but I do know, and this, you can kind of come at it as a comedic. It's hilarious in how stupid, how bullying, and how dumb of an asshole Scott Baio was. But the guy who plays Adam, his name's Alexander Polinsky. Have you ever seen, like, when he did it was pretty recently, he came out and talked about what happened to him?
Yeah, I saw that over the week to prepare for this, man. And I kind of chuckled because I'm picturing this wholesome image having motherfucker especially at the time, it's the 80s and 90s. And he just basically belittles this adolescent kid who like he's just being a kid. And I guess Adam Polinsky jumped on his lap because he sees Nicole Eggert sitting on Charles's lap or Scott Baio's lap, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna jump on. I'm a kid,
Uncle Scott.
Get off me, jazz hands."
Well, and he fucking fucked him. He kind of like went off on him there. But one thing, this is, it sucks. Being bullied sucks. Don't do it. But there was one thing in his statement that he said that was, I just thought like visualizing it was so fucking funny where he's like, yeah, he talked about being like completely scared to go on set and whatnot. But he's like, one day I went in and I had a basketball and I saw Scott, he was drinking a hot tea and I faked like I was going to pass him the basketball. So he flinched and he laughed and he's like, and Scott Baio looked at me and he threw hot coffee on my face. So Scott Baio was like, oh shit, and just fucking threw hot coffee on him, dude. And it's not cool, but basically Scott Baio was just pranking like a high school bully this kid while they were making this show. So
pretty much, man. And he got away with it. He's never seen jail time. I've never seen a Scott Baio mugshot.
Well, that thing you saw where he's giving a statement, what happened was they were like, we'll let all this go if Scott Baio will come and apologize to us in person. Because I think Nicole Eggert was there too. And
she was there with him.
Scott Baio was like, he didn't even show up. He's like, I'm not fucking apologizing to you. What the fuck are you talking about?
Fuck you, kids. I got Scott Baio is Single to air on VH1. What was that shit called?
It's hilarious. It's just a weird vibe. This was a weird show. I even, I don't remember I don't know how you consumed it, but when I watched it, it wasn't when it was new. It was when it was on like USA and it was just syndicated.
Well, most of the show's tenure was syndicated. It was initially a Wednesday night deal, I think for the first 2 seasons, and they discontinued it, and then it came back, and then they just ran it in syndication. And I would eat this shit up on the weekends. They would play this in the afternoon, or even like if it was a random time during the week, I would watch me some Charles in Charge. My thing was always, if it had kids in the 80s and 90s, I was a kid in the 80s and 90s. Hey, you got me. I'm all ears.
And it had that theme song, Steve, that was just fucking catchy. And I was like you, I think it was Sundays, because there was like a Sunday lineup on USA, and like maybe at the tail end or beginning of it, they'd throw like 3 episodes of this shit on. So I ate it up. But it is hilarious. It's like crazy how criminal of a fucking scumbag Scott Baio was.
Lives down the stairs and misunderstood. Keep his ass downstairs. Actually, get him out of the house. He's there just to take good care of me, like he's one of the family. Yeah, the fucking drunk uncle that you don't want to keep around your kids.
Don't sit on his lap or you're gonna feel it hard. Charles in
Charles has charges. Dude, I looked at the list of episodes in the last season 5, and there were 3 proposed spinoffs that they tried to have just in the final season. They tried to have 3 possible spinoffs.
Well, there had to be a buddy spinoff. I'm assuming that was one of them.
One of them was a buddy spinoff. One was a spinoff for the mom, Lillian, and the other one was actually there were actually some cameos in there. Like Paul Walker was in an episode, Tiffany Amber Thiessen was in an episode, and Pamela Anderson was in an episode before the titties. She played.
Scott Baio was just fucking collecting talent, waiting to just like putting it in a corral, just holding on to it. It's on layaway.
And another spinoff was Sarah visits her relatives in Albuquerque and a foreign exchange student who is living with them. They sound like shit. They sound like shite.
I mean, buddy, you can't do him as a main character. You can't do that. I mean, the intro is him hitting himself in the head with hammers. Like, what is it just going to be like a Looney Tunes episode, or what the fuck's going on here?
There's only so much you can do with Buddy, but in my free time, I will try to watch some more Charles in Charge because it just
dude,
takes you back to a time.
every season had like 30 episodes. There was like 26 episodes a season. It's fucking crazy.
Some time killers, man. I just try to keep the thought of Scott Baio being a piece of shit out of my head.
I mean, at this later shit, it's hard because he looks so fucking old. Like the old, I remember him when it was just kind of like still Chachi-ish.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Hilarious, but wild. I probably will because I enjoyed this. I thought it was fucking cool. And they did have a cool couple of like fourth wall breaks because they do that thing at the end on stage. And then Scott Baio wakes up on a couch. And he's like, "Oh my God, I had this crazy dream that I was an actor named Scott Baio." And then they do some stupid joke there, and show the live studio audience and stuff. So it was pretty cool.
And they sing the song, "I Want." It's one of the greats, man. But in 1991, Bernie Kosar ends NFL record of 308 passes without an interception. He had an interception that ended his Cleveland Browns as his Cleveland Browns lost to the Philadelphia fucking Eagles.
Well, this is the last great Cleveland Browns quarterback, so
I was just gonna say
doesn't get better than that.
Sidearm Bernie, man. Bankhead bounce for that man.
Damn, I didn't know he had a fucking little afro though. Look at that.
Yeah, man.
What's going on there?
I don't know. Maybe a little might want to check that what is it, that 23andMe, whatever the fuck that shit is called. Just see what's going down that tree.
You got that little beginner Howard Stern joint.
Is he Jewish?
Kosar? I mean, there might be like some Israeli or something like Middle Eastern.
With a name like Bernie. Oh, Boyne. Yeah. It's Boyne.
I mean, he's
from Youngstown.
Can he just go around fucking Cleveland, just get his D sucked to this day? I mean, he's it. He's greatness.
He's from Youngstown, Ohio. Fun fact.
I mean, he's right there. I mean, is he in the Hall of Fame?
No, fuck no. Wasted his time with the Browns, Guido. But also in 91, the last episode of Eureka's Castle airs on Nickelodeon. And I feel like they ended prematurely. I didn't realize it was that short of a tenure, man. That it started in 89 and ended November 10th, 91. And the characters, that is why I felt like it should have lasted longer, man, because they had some interesting characters to grab at. There was, of course, Eureka. There was Magellan, the big fucking dinosaur, Batley. And it had like some singing fish. Do you remember the stone fish that would sing and shit?
When they cut to like the tank, basically, is that what it was?
No, they were stone, like they were a part of the door. They were like a design on the door, and the fish would be singing. They were.
I remember this though. Seeing the logo you showed, that just like jumped my memory because I kind of forgot about this.
You forgot about Eureka's.
I mean, Eureka's Castle, dude.
Boggy and Quagmire, Mr. Knack, the Fish Tones. That's what it was, a trio of singing fish in the form of a stone fountain who spray water when they're not singing. So I was completely off. Maybe I got that shit mixed up.
I mean, this was on Nickelodeon, right?
And Nickelodeon, and there was the big fucking giant dude.
Yeah, dude, man, that's crazy. Was this Jesus Christ, who's the puppeteer? Jim Henson. Was this a Jim Henson joint, or was this just like a wannabe?
Well, it was written by R.L. Stine, so I guess it's based off of something that he created. The creative director was Eli Noyes. It says no mention of Jim Henson Studios, but it was actually distributed by MTV Networks.
Wow. Yeah, this was just like a sort of a unsung puppet like thing it looks very Jim Henson. It's like a Muppets type thing mixed with what was that fucking Dark Crystal? It almost looks like, like a little bit of both.
It was a modern Sesame Street of sorts, created by Judy Katch and Debbie Beese.
5. How many seasons? 5.
Only 2. No,
Oh, wow.
Charles in Charge was 5. This
yeah.
was Eureka's Castle was 3 seasons, 89, 90, and 91, and it was only 155 episodes. But I believe it's available on the Paramount.
Okay. Well, fuck that app, but I'll definitely try to check it out if it'll work. But my favorite from this, Magellan was probably most people's favorite. I like Batley myself. As a
I
kid
was a
with
Batley
glasses,
guy.
I enjoyed Batley. So
Yeah. Somebody who probably didn't watch this last episode of Eureka's Castle was probably American football player and wrestler William Afflis. Do you know who William Afflis is?
no, Steve, educate.
Oh, well, you probably know of the name Dick the Bruiser. Dick the Bruiser, which is what he's more famously known for.
Pause.
Yeah, he took a great opportunity for a porn name, but William Fritz Afflis, born June 27, 1929, was an American professional wrestler, promoter, professional football player, and he was known by Dick the Bruiser. He played 4 seasons with the Green Bay Packers. He was a 5-time world champion in professional wrestling, having held the AWA Heavyweight Championship, the WWA World Heavyweight Championship, and the WWA World Heavyweight Championship. And he would pass away November 10th, 1991 from internal bleeding, according to a spokesman for Suncoast Hospital in Largo, Florida.
I mean, this dude looks insane. There's a couple picture of him rocking a stogie. And yeah, I mean, this guy definitely looks like he took some head trauma, Steve. Dick the Bruiser, porn star, wrestler, psychopath, whatever. This guy looks
like
crazy, dude. He looks like Gollum if he was on roids.
We're toxic.
Maybe that or Sloth from Goonies if maybe less of an issue.
I can totally see Sloth.
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Dude, he looks wild, bro. He definitely partied. Am I right?
Yeah. This is back when wrestlers were scary. Hey, William, is your dick bruising? In 1992, Teddy Bridgewater, American football player, was born. Good old Teddy Bridge. He was drafted in 2015, and already, Matt, he's been a Bronco, a Jet, a Viking, a Saint, a Panther, and now he's a Dolphin.
Well, he was originally drafted by the Vikings, right?
Initially.
Yeah. But, dude, I mean, he showed... And I think he hasn't really fucked up too bad, but he got like a massive leg injury, I think. And that's kind of what fucked his career up a little bit.
Well, man, it's keeping him employed. His quarterback savvy or
what's the guy's name that's a Browns quarterback right now? He's basically, it's like a guy who is going to be a perennial backup.
Yeah.
Shout out Teddy Bridgewater though. He had a couple good years where I think people were thinking he was like what Patrick Mahomes is now, basically.
Well, he was a Pro Bowler in 2015. He was Rookie of the Year, and he got all the honors in college. Man, he was all AC, Big East Offensive Player of the Year, all Big East Rookie of the Year. So he had the intangibles, man. But sometimes, as fate would have it, it's just not in the cards for you to be a stud.
Steelers will take him right now. You can come join the losing squad, Teddy. Come help.
Hold your
out,
clipboard. Get your Jason Garrett on. And just like the good Lord giveth, the good Lord taketh. Because also in 1992, American actor, baseball player, and professional basketball player Chuck Connors passes away.
Chuck.
Good old Chuck, man. This is a shot from The Rifleman, which is what he was mostly known for. But he is one of only 13 athletes in history of American professional sports to have played in both Major League Baseball for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 49, the Chicago Cubs in 51, and the NBA with the Boston Celtics from 46 to 48. He had a 40-year film and television career. And he's best known, like I said, for his highly rated ABC series, The Rifleman, from 1958 to 1963.
I think that Quentin Tarantino sort of used that as a reference for that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, I think he was supposed to be Brad Pitt's character, possibly.
Chuck Connors.
Yeah, like they kind of
Really?
modeled him after that, maybe, because I do remember them talking about the Rifleman. Like, there's like a show in that movie that's sort of, they're mimicking that shit. But it's weird. They had a lot of those shows. Like, there was that Gunsmoke. There's other one. I can't remember all those.
Bonanza.
They love them some fucking cowboy shit.
Shit, I was a Bonanza fan, man. Shout out to Michael Landon. But yeah, man, Chuck Connors would pass away at the age of 71 due to lung cancer. The man was 6'6", played in the MLB and the NBA. That's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, hell yeah. And he was just fucking smoking butts the whole time. That's dope.
Yeah. And in 1993, Clash of the Champions 25 airs on TBS through WCW. And it's in St. Petersburg, Florida at the Bayfront Arena. This is in the main event, Ric Flair would pin Big Van Vader, but the referee later reversed the decision to a disqualification victory for Flair, as Vader had accidentally knocked down the referee, and as a result, Vader retains his championship. This also has Dustin Rhodes being escorted by his daddy. Yeah, baby, my wrestling days is over, but I'm here with my son. My son. He gonna take over the championship. That's my feed. Dustin Rhodes, he defeated Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, they call him. And he was accompanied by the assassin.
Don't get it twisted, baby. That came out of my penis. And it's that's my legacy. Look at my Paul beautiful Orndorff. Baby boy. Paul Orndorff, I love this guy that was just your stepdad that was boinking your mom.
Yeah, what are you doing, kid? When you going to school? Still going to school? All right.
Keep your roided out ass away from my son, Paul, and my beautiful baby mama, Sapphire, the lovely, vivacious titty and ass.
Yeah, look at the set design.
Wow.
It's very 90s.
Are they doing a telethon, Steve, or what the
that or holding a swap meet? And our guy, Rick Rude, he has a match with Road Warrior Hawk, and that went to a double count out. It's actually, looking at the roster, it doesn't look like a bad event, man. Our guy, the Shockmaster, defeated the Equalizer. Lord Steven Regal, he beat Johnny B. Bad, and Steve Austin, he beat Brian Pillman. Dustin Rhodes, like I said, beat Paul Orndorff, and the Nasty Boys, they defeated Sting and Davey Boy Smith, and that just should not be allowed.
On. That's just Sting himself can beat that guy. Those fucking pieces of shit. Flair looking, damn, that is a schmullies. That's some kind of, that's the mullet, Steve. That's crazy.
Man, can't tell him he ain't cool.
Dude, I mean, of course this guy was winning in the 90s. Look at him. He's going to sell you a used car and fuck your wife, Steve.
When he walked by, he would smell like money. And also in 93, November 10th, Carlito's Way premiered in theaters. A Puerto Rican former convict just released from prison pledges to stay away from drugs and violence despite the pressure around him and lead on to a better life outside of New York City. Directed by Brian De Palma, starring Al Pacino, Sean Penn, John Leguizamo, and Penelope Ann Miller.
And Viggo Mortensen's in this shit too. He has like a cameo. He's in a wheelchair. There's like a scene where he comes. I think Carlito gets out of jail, and he comes to like try to get something off of him. And there's like a whole thing with that. But Sean Penn in this, it's amazing. He's like a Jewish lawyer, and it's incredible.
It was his idea to have that receding hairline. It just makes it more convincing, and I agree.
And so this is a great movie. This is kind of like a subtle gangster movie. But it's entertaining, and there's a lot of like 90s hitters in it. And like I said, I mean, you didn't even say it, but Viggo Mortensen, like a huge actor now, he was just, this was like one of his come up movies where he did like a little bit role in it, and he kills it too. Look at fucking vintage fucking Al Pacino though, with just still a black beard.
Hoo-ha!
Maybe a little Just for Men in that, but he's still. He looks great.
Should I use it? I can't hate. And Al Pacino, him and Penelope Ann Miller, they became romantically involved during the filming. But Miller spoke publicly about their romance in interviews. But Pacino was in a relationship with Lyndall Hobbs at the time.
She got a great ass.
And Pacino attended the film's premiere with Hobbs and avoided Miller the whole time. Keep away from me, bitch. Hoo-ha.
If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
Bitch, fucking shut up.
I'll go buy another one.
But Sean Penn, I think GTA Vice City, like they literally had a character that looked exact and talked exactly like him in this. Like he basically, this is just a very memorable movie, I think, for people of a certain age. I think we were even a little too young for this, but I just it was on HBO. I caught it later on, and it's fun, man. It's cool.
Yeah, we were 10 when it came out, so we had to grow and we had to mature to fully appreciate fine cinema of Carlitos Way. But in 1993, that same day, E40 releases his debut album, Federal.
Ooh,
Federal.
Wow.
And this is vintage E40, man.
I mean, dude is just a legend. He's come up with like almost a full language of just craziness that I just wish I could I wish I could speak what E40 speaks.
It's the yay area for sheezy, slapping, cheddar, Gouda, 45 Zarelli, Efeezy. We off the heezy for sheezy. I thought you theezy too sheezy. You know what I mean?
My weebalization, man. I listened to this whole album and I added a lot of it to the playlist. Rat Heads. He's got this track called Outsmart the Popos. Outsmart the Popos. Like that shit goes hard. He's got another track called Extra Mannish, which I enjoy. Because that's what my grandma used to say. That's one of them old Southern terms. You be over there being mannish. Over there looking at them girls being mannish. So yeah, man, Federal by E40, man, his debut, and that shit is hitting, stands the test of time. But in 1994, November 10th, Seinfeld airs the episode The Soup. Jerry accepts an Armani suit from Kenny Banya, provided that he will treat him to a meal. Elaine dates a bounder from England, and Kramer decides to eat fresh. How about eat a dick, Kramer?
He eats some this episode. He eats a lot of shit this episode. But yeah, so we start this. You mentioned it at the beginning. When you texted me this episode, I was like, no brainer, Soup Nazi. Let's do this.
Yeah,
let's go.
That's what I thought.
And then Friday, when I was putting my notes together, I was like, wait, I think Steve fucked up because that episode didn't come out this day. And then I was like, let me just double check. Sure enough, the soup, this ain't what we were hoping for, Steve. But I gotta say, I was laughing my ass off at this episode.
It's still a classic episode. I was expecting this guy. I was like, man, all right, hold up. We got about 5 minutes left. And like, I still not seen this dude. I'm not like, oh, it's the episode called The Soup Nazi. Damn.
Yeah. We calculated error here, but again, I mean, Seinfeld, I'm not the biggest proponent of it, but it seems like we've picked a random episode, fire. So
I still don't see why you're not. I mean, they make good shit. They made good shit.
Great. It's fucking amazing.
Go
ahead, go for it.
Oh, well, just going to start off, man, with Jerry doing his typical stand-up bit at the beginning of the episode. And he's talking about how when friends fall into relationships and it just makes the whole dynamic awkward, it becomes a three-party play. And I've witnessed this. I've experienced this myself, man. You're hanging out with your bro, and then they find somebody, and it's just not the same. They always have to ask for opinions. Like, I don't know, babe. What do you think? Motherfucker, I was talking to you. I wasn't talking to babe. I was talking to you. We can do this from time to time, but like every time, no. I'm talking to you. I asked you that question. I didn't ask this.
I mean, I've seen both sides of this, Steve. I've been the guy doing it, and I've been the guy having it done to him. So I get it, and he's right.
You are that guy. We play hypotheticals. I'm like, man, that bitch is bad. I'll fucking smash it. Like, what you think, man? Well, I don't know. I'm in a relationship, and I can't. Motherfucker, I know. We playing hypothetical. I can't never fuck the bitch either. Well, I'm just asking what.
Steve, you have to. It's just the line you have to tread. I can't help it. But that's why it's brought up in the stand-up, because it's true. And it's funny because it's true. It.
That's why Jerry's one of the GOATs.
I mean, it is, but I get it. And it is bitch-like, but I have to do it, Steve, or else I'm not going to get pussy. So it is what it is.
I don't want to get you in that bucket. What do you think,
In
darling?
that bucket.
Anyways, yeah. So they're at their at their usual diner, and Jerry's having a turkey club without the bacon, and George jokes he's having a bacon club without the turkey. The waitress
is feeling it, Steve. She's enjoying this.
That Costanza's sense of humor, that je ne sais quoi, and she gets the flirting. She's like, do I have to get rough with you, George? And George is like, bitch, say when.
And then she leaves, and she's even going the extra mile. Like, she's like, you know what? You don't want that. So let me go back. You're trying to watch your weight or whatever. So I'm going to go make you something special real quick. And she comes back with like a special sandwich for him. There's a vibe, Steve. There's a vibe. And he's like, I mean, this is crazy. So you want to do this? You know, and Jerry's like, I don't know, dude. So they actually leave, I think. But Jerry's like, listen, man, you got to go back in there. And George is like, you want me to go back into the restaurant? This is like, that's a suicide mission. I can't do that. And he gets a little pep talk, goes in, and, you know, little confusion on this, but she says yes to meeting him later.
Yeah. You know? And Elaine, she comes in and she says she went to England with Mr. Pitt. And whoever Mr. Pitt is, I missed that one. And along the way, while she was in England, she met a guy, and she's actually flying a guy named Simon in from England. And we also find out that there's a new guy, a new cast member, a new character named Kenny Banya, and this is his first appearance on the show. I find him a hilarious guy because he's just so over the top, and he's kind of like the guy that annoys Jerry when Kramer's buddy's not there.
He's the ugly Jason of this world, Steve.
Yeah, when Newman's not there, there's Kenny Banya, and he's an awful comedian, and he comes up to the table and he's like, yeah, been working out, went from a 40 to 42. I'm huge.
Yeah, and he's outgrown a suit, Steve. So much so, he's willing to give away an Armani suit to Jerry, just, you know, gratis on the arm.
Fucking Armani. Michael Jordan wears Armani. And he's just giving it, like, I don't want it. I don't want it.
I mean, and there's so many times where he could have just gotten the suit, Steve. There's a lot of like back and forth. But I think, is it Kramer? Okay, so no, he agrees to give Jerry the outfit. And he's like, you know what? I'll bring it to your apartment. And you can tell Jerry's like, yeah, great. Because he just does not like Kenny Banya, Steve. KB, no bueno.
And at first he said, dude, I want nothing from you. And then right after saying that, he's like, you know what? Actually, how about you take me out for a meal?
Because Kramer's like being a dick. Because the next day he comes to bring it. Kramer's in the apartment talking about how the fact that he doesn't have a refrigerator anymore. He's only eating fresh.
Yeah.
And Kenny Banya comes over with this suit, and Kramer's like, damn, Armani, show it off. So
yeah.
Jerry reluctantly puts it on, and Kramer's like, man, free? You kidding me? What a great deal. And Kenny Banya then, he's like, yeah, you know what? Actually, how about you buy me a dinner? And Kramer's like, that's a hell of a fucking good deal. So he's sort of like egging him on like a cunt. I'd be like, dude, shut the fuck up.
And Jerry doesn't want to go anywhere with Kenny. And but on a good note, we find out that George actually landed a date. He's going to get to meet that waitress. And Elaine's date, they cut to her in the car as she's picking up her date, Simon from England, and immediately we realize he's a pompous prick. He's correcting her like, we don't say what where I'm from, we say pardon.
Can I have a 20? He's a leech. He's a douchey attitude. Like, it's clear there's not gonna be, like, she's made a huge mistake just in the taxi cab. And speaking of bad mistakes, then we see George on his afternoon date with the waitress. They're walking, they're talking. It seems like it's going well. But then George stumbles into this really weird just conversation starter where he almost like steps in some horse shit. And he's like, oh, manure. You know, I don't even mind horse manure. It's actually kind of cool when you think about it. It's manure, which is good, with ma at the front of it. So it's pretty cool. And it's like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah, we just went from talking about her homemade hair clips that she's making and waitressing to pick up some extra ends, and then now you go on this mini rant about manure. And red flag in her head. The waitress is saying like, "Oh, I like your watch. That's a nice watch. My boyfriend has the same watch." And instantly, George is like, "Fuck."
Yeah. Oh, this thing that's happened to me millions of times.
You just gonna whip that out like that? Oh, you got a boyfriend, bitch? We're on an afternoon stroll.
Yeah. What do you think I'm trying to do? And he even says that. He airs his grievances to Jerry. We cut back to the apartment because basically we just see him receive that kick to the nuts. And then he's like, am I weird here? And Jerry's like, yeah, I mean, like, run it back. Like everything was going good. Like, what did you say to her to get the date? And he's like, well, I asked her to go out for a walk if she wanted to do that. And he's like, okay, but he
it's just like a walk.
But he also said, he's like, and maybe something else. And he's like, oh, okay, well, that clearly is a date. Like, that little extra makes it a date. Yeah. And he's like, so then what were you guys talking about? And he kind of goes through the conversation, and he tells him about this manure thing. And Jerry's like, yeah, I don't know, dude. You might have veered off here.
Maybe that's what did it. He said maybe she called an audible. Maybe she was at the line. She saw some things she didn't like, and she changed the play. Maybe she doesn't have a boyfriend after all. And in walks Kramer, in barges Kramer, as usual, and he's loving this no refrigerator thing. He really likes depriving himself of things. And he's even got a date with the hostess of Reggie's. And he tells George, hey, maybe we can double date. And now we cut to Kenny, who calls, and he says, if Jerry's not busy, maybe he can get his meal today, and they can meet at Mindy's. And so they're at Mindy's, and Kenny asks, do you lift weights? Maybe you should. And I'll just get the soup. Yeah. I'll save the meal for some other time. And Jerry's not having that shit. He's like, no, motherfucker, we're here right now. You're going to get your meal. This will count.
No,
you're sitting down.
Yeah. Kenny, obviously, he's like, wait, what? This isn't the meal. This is just soup. And Jerry's like, dude, this is it. He tries to like put his foot down, but somehow Kenny's like, no, dude, I'm just going to get the soup and we'll have a meal some other time. I'm giving you a free Armani suit. So this keeps coming up, and it's like, Jerry has to be like, yeah, fine. Okay. And one thing we did gloss over, when Kramer's talking about the double date situation at the apartment, George asks him to ask Hildy, who Kramer is going out with, about this other waitress to see if she actually has a boyfriend or not, because he's got to know.
Right, to get the inside scoop. We totally did go over that, man. And now Jerry, after this whole rendezvous with Kenny, he's talking to Elaine now, and Elaine asks, well, what kind of soup did he order? He says consomme. He's like, well, see, now that's not really a soup. If it was something more hearty, like chicken noodle, matzo ball, something.
Even a beef and barley, Steve, even that.
Beef and barley. Did he crumble crackers into the soup? And he said, yeah, well, maybe that will suffice as a meal. And Jerry's getting nowhere with that. And then out comes Simon, who immediately asks for money. And Elaine says, well, look in my purse. He said, well, there's only $6 in there. I already looked. He's like, motherfucker.
And he's like, Jerry's like, fine. Like, how much money do you need? And he's like, a 20 will suffice. And he takes that. And then I didn't get exactly what was going on here, but I think Simon's fucking some other tale, because he's like, I won't be back tonight. And to Elaine, he's like, and it's like, wait, what the fuck? So Simon goes about his business. Jerry's stuck in this weird fucking zone with fucking Kenny Banyan, and I think George comes in. Is this where Kramer's like, yeah, Hildy fucking said your girl doesn't have a boyfriend? She's lying.
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Well, because George and Jerry, they're sitting at the table about the order. And this time around, the waitress takes their order, and she's pretty stern. She's not doing any playful banter. She's not flirting. She's like, what will it be?
There's no banter.
And George's like,
there's no banter.
What? What will it be? Yes, motherfucker. What are you gonna eat? What are you having?
Something of that
And
nature, please.
yeah, and George is just stuck like, what the fuck? He's just talking to the bitch.
Yeah, so Vibe killed. And then while they're doing that, Kramer comes in, says it's a lie. Uh he found out from Hildy that it was a lie. She doesn't have a boyfriend. And they leave. There's some because eventually they're just like George can't go back to this place after a certain point in this episode. He's too humiliated.
And we skipped over Kenny. He actually came in while they're sitting down, and they immediately moved to the edge of the seat, like nope, no room. And
Seat's
Kenny asked, like,
taken.
yeah, did you wear the suit yet? And Jerry, like, yeah, I wore it last night and slept in it. Like,
you did that? No, you
no,
fuck.
I'm just so over this fucking Armani suit. Goddamn. And now we cut to Simon. He went to get beer, I guess, with Jerry's money. And he's wanting to stay, but he has no money and he's got no prospects. And while that's going on, Kenny calls and Jerry tells him that that's it. That's it. I got you a soup, another soup, and a sandwich. No more. That's the meal, motherfucker. And then Jerry gives Simon the Armani because he's just had it with that goddamn Armani. And
cursed.
Kenny calls back and asks for his suit back. And Jerry's like, I don't have it. I gave it to somebody.
Bye, bitch. And fucking Simon walks away with a fresh Armani suit to go with his shitty attitude. But yeah, it's like Elaine's like, he's gonna be gone in a couple days. Fuck him. I guess he's gonna get this suit. And then
Kramer busts in too.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, Kramer busts in and like he has to steal Jerry's food.
Yeah, because Hildy is like a ravenous beast. Hildy is like a soft field hockey player. She's stocky. She's horny as fuck and hungry. So basically, Kramer's terrified she's going to get too hungry and beat his ass. And
or eat him.
Yeah, something's going to. And I mean, hey, eat away, I guess. I mean, if there's grass on the fucking field hockey field, play ball. I don't know. But so he gets he takes like a full bologna thing, like a gigantic bologna thing that looks like a Hillshire Farms like gift basket, some bread. I mean, I don't know what's going on in the apartment, but it stinks, Steve. The smell is disgusting.
He took the whole loaf of Wonder Bread. Did you find anything?
Yeah, like, damn, bitch. Like, take a Gatorade. Fuck.
Last I checked, you do work at Reggie's where they serve food, bitch, if you were that hungry. And so now we cut back to George not wanting to go in now because the waitress is in there. And he's like, dude, I don't know what to do. It's going to be awkward every time. Let's go to Reggie's instead. So him, Jerry, and Elaine, they go to Reggie's. And Hildy, she is the waitress there. And Elaine asked for a big salad. There's an episode called The Big Salad. She loves that goddamn big salad. And Hildy says, I can give you 2 small salads. Well, could you put it in a big bowl?
We ain't got one, bitch.
2 small salads.
Jerry wants an egg white omelet, but it says specifically on the menu they don't have that. So, it's just shit ain't the same, Steve.
It ain't hitting the same.
This ain't it. And, but George is like, this is fine, guys. Like, I'm not going back there. I'm fucking humiliated,
I gotta find a way to get her fired. And Kramer.
Dick, dude.
So they come back to Jerry's place, and Kramer, he comes back for some more food because Hilby's hungry. Gotta feed that Hilby. And, we find out that Hilby lost her job at Reggie's. She lost her job because Kramer was calling there too many times. And so that sparks an idea in George's head. It's like, oh, I got it now. And so we cut back to where the waitress is, the one that George is dating. And she says it's her last day. And Bloomingdale's ordered a bunch of her clips. So she ain't got to deal with that shit anymore. Kenny comes in and he asks for his suit. And we find out that, George, while this is going on, George is making phone calls to the place at Moans and at Monk's. And I don't know if he's the manager or whatever, the black guy, he answers the phone. He's like, look, man, you got to stop calling. And he says to the waitress, I don't, what's the waitress's fucking name on here?
It is Kelly, I believe.
It's Kelly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he tells Kelly that, look, man, your boyfriend's got to stop calling. And she says, he's not my boyfriend. He's that bald guy with glasses that always comes in with them. And they're like, oh shit. Elaine and Jerry's like, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, he's just trying to get me in trouble. So she's already on to George's tactics. And so the black guy comes up to their table. He's like, look, man, next time I see your friend, I'm going to turn him into my personal hand puppet. Like, whoa, Scott Baio.
Yeah, did he talk to Charles or is that fucking Muggsy? What the fuck's going on here? Yeah, he's not happy.
Charges.
And George takes another L in a series of probably hundreds of L's on this show. And basically, okay, then after that, Simon's gotten this nice suit. He comes in and he's fucking feeling himself. He's cocksure, Steve, to use an English term. He's cocksure. Why? Because some guy saw him in a fucking Armani suit and gave him a job interview. And ain't that a bitch?
Yeah. Aren't you the guy from Drop Dead Fred? I like you in that suit. You want a job tomorrow?
How about you're VP of something now. Here's $100,000. So Simon just lucks into a job because of an Armani suit. But, this is like it's like a perfect storm. We're in the diner. This happens. Kenny Banya's in here. Simon's leaving. And Jerry's like, hey, Kenny, you want your fucking suit? There it is. And Kenny I think he just strips him out on the street, Steve. I don't know what happens.
Off camera, yeah. Elaine basically sicks Kenny on him, and we just hear like a tag dog.
Get butt naked.
And that's the end of that, man. We finished the episode with George just eating at Reggie's by himself because he doesn't know yet that the waitress is gone. She's leaving.
He's having his own he seems to be enjoying himself. He's throwing a lot of condiments on that plate, and he's just having a nice, quiet meal, Steve. Free of the bullshit. There's no banter. There's no banter.
Oh, well, what am I having?
I hate that, though, like in a date, because I have had that, not about manure, but you'll just, be killing it. And then it'll maybe just be a throwaway comment, but you can just see the moment where it's like, oh, well, this isn't going anywhere now. I fucked this up somehow. My bad.
Yeah. What I just said made me soft and her dry. Damn it. Back to do my homework.
Time to jack off again.
Back to the jack officer.
Time to jack off. Yeah. But, he's going to get it, Steve. He's going to get a job at the Yankees or has had a job at the Yankees. I don't know where we're at in the show. Oops. There I am. But, again, not the episode we thought. Still banger. So, Seinfeld, yeah. I'm a believer. I was a fucking skeptic. I'm a believer. So, I'm sorry.
Man, we will get to the Soup Nazi one day.
No soup for you. Come back 1 year.
We're a season off.
Are we a season off?
Yeah, this is season 6, and Soup Nazi was season 7. But somebody who didn't watch this episode, The Soup of Seinfeld, in 1994, was probably American singer, pianist, and actress Carmen McRae. She passed away, born 1920. She is considered one of the most influential jazz vocalists of the 20th century, and remembered for her behind-the-beat phrasing and ironic interpretation of lyrics.
Damn. 1920s. See, when she died, what year was it?
1994, November 10th.
It's fascinating. It must be, I always wondered that. I had a grandma that lived 104 years. And it's like those years were like pre-depression, World War I and II. These people got to see the craziest of shit.
The craziest of shit, man.
And that's coming from people like us that have seen a lot of crazy shit, but it just is like, man, somebody that lived like 80 years and it started in the early 1900s, they saw some of it must be like a literal see a comic book coming to life, basically, because they saw the Jetsons, basically,
Yeah, like TVs didn't exist when she was born. I mean, radios were like fairly new. But McRae died at her home in Beverly Hills, California at the age of 74. She had fallen into a semi-coma 4 days earlier, a month after being hospitalized for a stroke. So R.I.P. to that legend. But in 1995, Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, premiered in theaters. Ace Ventura Pet Detective returns, a spiritual quest to investigate the disappearance of a rare white bat, the sacred animal of a tribe in Africa, directed by Steve Odekirk, starring Jim Carrey, Ian McNeice, and Simon Callow.
This is a banger, Steve. It's not, you know, I'm not going to compare one or the other, but this made me laugh a lot. There's a lot of fucking bumblebee tuna. A lot of that. Just fucking hilarious. The Monopoly guy thing. You must be the Monopoly guy. Thanks for the free parking.
This was the only film up until Dumber and Dumber 2 that actually had a sequel with Jim Carrey in it.
Yeah, this came pretty quick too. It wasn't like a long wait for this sequel, and thank God they made it. It was fucking, and like even like Tommy David, the weird shit with like the tribe that he goes, Tommy Davidson's in this. You get a lot of fucking funny shit, dude.
You got two physical comedians, man, Tommy Davidson and Jim Carrey in their element, just fucking going to town. I feel like it was a duel of physical comedy in that scene.
Hell yeah. And it's but I remember seeing this in the theater. I have this probably someplace, and yeah, it is wild though. They weren't doing sequels like that too much. This one though, you had to have it, Steve.
Yeah, just like we should have got a Mask sequel. But crazy.
Why don't people like that shit, Steve? I don't, because I've asked a lot of people about this movie, and there's a wide consensus that it's not a good movie, and I don't get that.
Ace Ventura, this one?
No, I'm talking about The Mask.
Oh, The Mask? Because they're haters. I feel like anything that man touched in that time is gold.
I mean, it's a one-man wrecking crew. That movie especially, it's just like him on level 10. It's just him doing crazy, like, he's a cartoon in that movie. And, you know, it is CG'd the fuck out, but man, he was just absolutely annihilating it in the 90s.
But it's also partially because he probably didn't want to do sequels, because he didn't want to do this one, but he was obligated because of you know, studio contracts and whatnot. And the co-star Simon Callow, he said that it made on-set experiences awkward.
Really? That sucks.
His salary was half of the movie's budget. Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls was $30 million, and Jim Carrey's salary was $15.
Yeah, I think I've said something about this on a previous episode, but just there was a time with him and Will Smith, I remember, maybe even Adam Sandler, where they were killing it so hard, where there was just like this hard line where they went from whatever you make as an actor to 20 mil a movie or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, well-deserved, because, I mean, how much did the fucking shit make, you know?
200 and something million.
That rhino scene, Steve, where he comes out of the rhino, it's a little hot, these rhinos. Love it.
Only Jim. Please like, share, and subscribe for more ways to prank call Herschel Walker. In 1998, Cher releases her 22nd studio album, Believe, which became the most successful of her career. It peaked at #1 in 7 countries, #4 in the US, and #7 in the UK. And I don't know why, but I remember the video, and it was like, this bitch finally discovered a mouth. Was it? The vocoder. She found the Zapp and Roger shit. Congratulations, Cher. But I remember that shit being everywhere. I could see you.
I mean, I feel like even like it became like a club song. It popped off in a way that didn't make a lot of sense. I didn't remember. I don't remember, other than laughing at it, understanding why it was so big.
Yeah, and I don't think that was her aim. She, like, on an accident, became like the godmother of EDM. Yeah, bro. Take this ecstasy pill. That's all I heard. But I still fuck the shit out of some Cher though. Let's not get it twisted though. I will create a whole new hole for some goddamn Cher, even at the age she's at now. I want to say the bitches in her 70s. Oh yes, the fuck I would. Oh man, she's a great gilf. Well, okay. Kid, don't give me shit. You give me
70s Cher, 80s Cher could definitely get it. Even this, I mean, I don't know. I'm scared, Steve. Now I'm scared of it. It's a couple years, 20 years ago, not. But now you're crazy.
Hey, get out the crowd if you scared. But also in 1998, R. Kelly releases R. Just R. Dot. And damn it, it's his best-selling album up to this day. Yes. Out of all of the fucking bangers and slappers that man has orchestrated and created, this album behind me is his best-selling album. It had I Believe I Can Fly, I Can Fly, I Can Fly. He put his foot in that song. It's got Half on a Baby.
Space Jam, dude. Like, this guy made it onto a fucking Disney film fucking soundtrack.
Yeah. Half on a Baby. And I bet a lot of people are going to Half on a Baby on this fucking album.
Is Keep It on a Down Low on this?
No, that's on the album before.
Okay.
But this also has When a Woman's Fed Up, There Ain't Nothing You Can Do About It. And it's got Gotham City, which is not on the Spotify album. But it says that it's on the listing on Wikipedia, and Gotham City for the ghetto. That shit goes hard that I feel like a lot of people sleep on. It's called the Gotham City Remix.
I mean, R. Kelly was musically untouchable. I mean, probably I don't know who filled the role completely. I don't think anybody did, but it was wild, dude. And he was just going on tours. I mean, the amount of vagina that was just throwing itself. I remember somebody talking about a concert where he was like using some sort of light, and basically it was his dick. Like, he was like singing a song and like had a light or some kind of mirror shining a giant light beam out of his dick. So I mean, This guy was putting on a show, Steve.
Oh, he's putting on shows that you never asked for.
Oh.
And in 1999, Light It Up premiered in theaters. A group of teens are bent on improving the rundown conditions of their high school. Directed by Craig Bolton, starring Usher, Forrest Whitaker, Rosario Dawson, Robert Richard, Judd Nelson, Fredro Starr, Sarah Gilbert, Clifton Collins Jr., and Glenn Turman. I like the pieces of this portrait, but I've never even heard of it. Light It Up, and Clifton Collins Jr., he always plays a scoundrel. I believe he was one of the guys in Training Day, maybe. He was one of the guys in no, you know what it was? He was in 187, the Samuel Jackson movie.
Okay. They definitely, there was like a lot of people who played only criminals in movies in that movie. There was like go-to thugs in 90s movies.
Yeah, and he was in that. He was in Traffic. He was in The Rules of Attraction, Undefeated, for richer, for poor. He was in a lot of shit. He was in Menace to Society. He was one of the Vatos. He was in Poetic Justice as a mailroom supervisor. But yeah, man, I read on IMDb that this was a parallel to Breakfast Club, and ironically, Judd Nelson was in this film. He plays a teacher, and Usher is like the jock guy. Rosario Dawson is, I guess, the redhead chick. She plays that role. Sarah Gilbert plays the weird chick role. Robert Richard plays the pushover, Anthony Michael Hall guy. And Fredro Starr, he plays like the Judd Nelson guy, I guess. And ironically, Usher and Fredro Starr were both on Moesha as Brandy's love interest.
Light It Up. I remember I looked up the like the cover art, and I definitely remember seeing this like to rent, but I never saw this shit.
Seems interesting. I mean, if you got time to kill and if it's available. But any callbacks, cum shots, or booty calls you regret?
I mean, a lot of those, Steve, but we're not going to bring that up. But fuck. I didn't prepare anything here, Steve, and I'm worried. Oh, you know what? So I have to do some research for an interview I'm doing on Kendra's show about my something related to the 1990s, specifically 1990. And I watched some of the original Ninja Turtles theatrical movie, like that this poster is from. And looking at that movie, the end fight with Shredder, for a kid's movie, is a really fucking top-notch martial arts fight scene. I was just like, it's shocking how quality that movie is when you think of like probably how easy it was for that to be a piece of shit, you know?
Oh yeah. They could have really stumbled over themselves, but the first two, I can't speak for that CGI shit, but those first two, they stand the test of time.
I love that. I love the second one, the one with Vanilla Ice and Token Razor. It's a little more goofy. It's not as like dark as, if you can call it that. But man, yeah, the first one, to have a property that was literally just a comic book and toy and turned it into that, it's hilarious to say, but it was like one of the most memorable moments of my life when I went to see that in theaters as whatever age I was, 7, I guess. And Raphael says damn the first time because he lost his eye. I was like, oh my God.
Turtles can cuss now.
Yeah, dude. It was mind blowing. I loved it.
Turtles are really cool now.
Yeah. So that's going to be what I talk about in that episode. But I was just like, yeah, dude, it's just like how, I mean, they nailed it. You know, if I wish they wouldn't keep trying to do it, because it's like, man, I don't think you're ever going to live up to this.
Well,
but
they do 11D Batmans. Why not?
What about you, bud?
Well, in 1990, SNL has the episode with musical guest World Party and your host, Jimmy Smits. And this was the first episode that contained a dark side with Nat X. This was Chris Rock's starring skit. That was the first instance of that. And this was David Spade and Julia Sweeney's first episode as cast members. And also Dinosaurs in 1995. Dinosaurs airs their last episode. And it's not the one that everybody talks about. This is the last episode in syndication. Whatever the fuck that meant. It didn't air in the right rotation or whatever. And it's called Scent of a Reptile. And one of these days we'll cover Dinosaurs. And in 96, that following year, Steve Harvey's show airs the episode Big Brothers. And this is the first cameo appearance of Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell. And they play the little brothers that get adopted by Sid and Steve Harvey. And they would be recurring characters, recurring performers on this show throughout the various seasons, man. But that's all I got for that. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. And tell your sister, it's not too small, it's just very thin. Please listen to Over the Culture on Sundays, Crushgasm with Kendra on Wednesdays, B3F Podcast with Joey and Steve, and Don't Worry, B-Movie with Amanda and Wade. This is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s.
You dumped your donut, you gave her dog a sausage, you stuffed her like a Thanksgiving turkey. Oh, oh, oh.